Are you Rudy Martinez Jr.?
Yes, Judge.
Are you the same Rudy Martinez Jr. that was arrested and charged with the offense of driving while intoxicated?
Yes, Judge.
You're accompanied at this time by Jason Todd on behalf of your attorney?
Yes.
All right. Please wait. Please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear that in this proceeding, the information and responses you submit will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. You may put your hand down. Mr. Martinez, before we proceed, I need you to be fully aware that you have certain rights and protections afforded you by the United States and Texas constitutions and statutes. First right you have is a right to remain silent. That means that you cannot be compelled to make any kind of statement. You cannot be required to answer questions, nor can you be required to submit written paperwork that has your signature, particularly papers that admit or confess to wrongdoing. You understand you have the right to remain silent.
Yes.
You have the right to a jury trial. That means that you and your attorney and the state could collectively select 6 people from a pool of disinterested citizens to hear all the evidence, testimony, etc. And that jury would decide whether you're not guilty or whether you have been proven guilty beyond reasonable doubt. You understand that you have the right to a jury trial.
Yes.
You also have the right to confront witnesses. What that means is if you decided to go to trial, the state would have to try and prove you're guilty by using testimony of witnesses. Those witnesses would be subject to you and your attorney questioning, cross-examining, or challenging. That's called the right to confront witnesses. Do you understand you have that right?
Yes, Judge.
When everything is over, including punishment, the punishment process, you would have a right called the right to appeal. That means you would have the right to demand that a higher court review the official record in this matter, all the evidence, testimony, etc. The official record is being prepared by a court reporter, certified court reporter, Ms. Kayleen Rivera. That official record you and your attorney, or you yourself, or he himself, would demand a review for whatever legal challenges you wanted to make. That right is a bit technical and difficult. You have to know that you have that right, but you'd also have to prepare documents that have substance and form in accordance with the law, and there would be time limitations. But ultimately, you'd have the right to demand a review by a higher court. That's called the right to appeal. You understand that?
Yes, Judge.
Also, finally, you have the right to demand that this proceeding be held in the open public courtroom. That right is being curtailed right now because of the COVID pandemic. In order to proceed with your pleading today, you needed to review and sign what's called a consent to video conference. You have the right to that public hearing, as does the state. And both of you had to review that and sign it as far as doing this by video conference. Did you agree to the video conference?
Yes.
And you and your attorney both signed the document saying so?
Yes.
Yes,
All right.
Judge.
Very good. Now, Mr. Todd, did you or the law firm sign a document verifying or affirming that the state has complied with Article 39.14 Texas Code of Criminal Procedure on discovery?
Yes, Judge. This is Jason Todd for Mr. Martinez, and there is 2 different signatures. I believe Mr. Del Cueto had signed some of them, and I signed some, but I do work with Mr. Del Cueto and am here on his behalf. And we did sign the discovery acknowledgement.
Very good. Now, another document that you reviewed and signed, by the way, any documents that are part of this proceeding that have your signature, you know what they said and you understood what they said, Mr. Martinez?
Yes, Judge.
And did you have the guidance and the counsel of your attorneys?
Yes, Judge.
All right. Now, in addition, there's a document wherein I certified to you in writing that because you're participating in a plea bargain agreement, you do not have a right of appeal. Did you see and understand that document?
Yes, Judge.
Also, you signed a document wherein you asked this court to grant you probation, specifically deferred adjudication probation. Did you understand what you were saying and what you were asking for?
Yes, Judge.
All right. For the record, deferred adjudication probation is a written legal binding agreement between you and this court, wherein you are telling this court that you understand that your agreement is that you will live up to 100% of the conditions of supervision. In exchange, although you're going to enter a plea that's sufficient for me to find you guilty and convict you, granted deferred adjudication means that you will not be convicted so long as you live up to 100% of the conditions of supervision. If you fail or refuse to live up to those conditions, the court, upon notice from the state and request, the court will give you notice, bring you in for a hearing. And it will be my decision then whether I believe that I should enter a final conviction of guilt. If that happens, you'll be looking at the full range of punishment for the offense of obstruction, which will be a fine from $0 all the way to $2,000 in jail from 0 days to 180 days. Is that clear, sir?
Yes, Judge.
All right. State, you have a motion regarding the original charge.
Yes, Your Honor. At this time, the state would move to abandon count 1 and proceed on count 2 of obstruction.
Defense, any objection?
No objection to that, Your Honor.
All right, then the court approves the motion to waive count 1 and proceed on count 2, which is obstruction of a passageway, highway, or waterway. The court now officially asks you, Mr. Martinez, how do you plead to the charge of obstruction of a passageway, highway, or waterway?
Guilty?
Mr. Todd, is that your understanding of what you wanted him to plead?
Yes, Judge.
All right. The court accepts your plea of guilty. I find there's sufficient evidence to find you guilty, but I do not, because I am granting you deferred adjudication as agreed to between the state and recommended to the court. How long are we granting deferred? 12 months, is my understanding?
Yes, Judge.
All right, you have 12 months deferred adjudication. I believe at this point, you're to pay a $500 fine, is that correct?
Yes,
Plus
Judge.
costs. You will perform 48 hours of community service restitution. You will complete the DWI education program. You will do the victim impact panel live. You will submit to a TAP evaluation and recommendations. In addition, for 6 months continuously, you'll have ignition interlock installed in your vehicle, and you're not to drive any other vehicle other than yours with the ignition interlock. Is that understood?
Yes, Judge.
Now, how do you earn a living, Mr. Martinez?
I'm a teacher,
Where do you teach?
Madison Elementary and SAISD.
And what is your income?
About 52,000.
All right. You have children that you support.
Yes, Judge. One daughter,
How old is she?
3 years old.
How many?
3?
All right. I do not accept the agreement that's been reached of $500 fine plus court costs. I think that is a little bit too light in view of the income that you have? The mother of the child, does she work outside the home?
Yes, Judge.
And what does she do?
She is also a teacher.
She has an equivalent, more or less, income?
Yes, Judge.
All right. I'm going to make the fine $850, which means I have made the punishment greater than what you agreed to, which means that under law, you have the right to start all over again. I think that a $500 fine is fair in lieu or in view of your income, and particularly your household income. The 48 hours community service to me is barely sufficient, but I will live with it. Since you're a teacher, you do a lot of good, at least you should. Does the $850, is that acceptable, or do you want to start all over again as is allowed by law?
Judge, may I be heard for just a moment, Your Honor?
I'm listening.
I do know in talking to Mr. Martinez, especially when we take into consideration the monthly fee that is going to be tacked on for the ignition interlock. I do know that the financial ramifications of this are going to be significant for him, and even to the point of, and just for the court's information that we talked about, can he just not drive to avoid the cost? So I with all due respect to his amount of income, I know that the situation that he's in, this is a significant, it is a significant amount to him based on where he is in his life. And so I would just ask the court to consider that as well, beyond just his salary, that he does have a lot of financial obligations.
I have heard what you have to say.
Mr. Martinez.
Say, Mr. Martinez,
I'm sorry, what was that, Judge?
what do you have to say to me?
I mean, I do have, financial obligations, and that is a concern of mine. Just like Mr. Todd stated right now, one of the things that I did consider was not driving, just due to the financial obligations that I do have.
Such as?
I mean, I do pay a lot. I mean, for, things for my daughter, things for my classroom. I do spend a good amount on my classroom. That's one thing that will be impacted, Judge. My daughter is a student in my school. So, I support her at home, and I support, help support her classroom. I mean, I medical for my daughter. If she does get sick, she has asthma, I pay her medical. And then for myself as well, I pay my own medical bills that I've been, paying for probably years now.
And Your Honor, I would just add, he also, and this is kind of getting ahead, we were going to ask about community service, that he volunteers at the school. He runs an after school club, and he puts money into that as well. So just know that is coming down the pipe, that we're going to ask for that to count, but that's another place where he's investing in his school.
All right, I'll reconsider and reduce this back to $500. I will agree with that.
Thank you, Judge.
Your monthly supervisory fee will be $38 a month. That is less than I intended. And however, you will do 60 hours of community service restitution. I will give you credit. I'll have the probation office give you credit for any extra work that you do at the school. Is that understood?
Yes, Judge. Thank you, Judge.
All right. Let me say this to you. The worst thing that could happen in your life, Mr. Martinez, is for you to drink and drive and wind up killing your own child as a result of your drinking and driving. It's the worst thing that could happen to you. The second worst thing would be for you to drink and drive and kill an innocent person. killed yourself, that you had it coming. Killed an innocent person, nobody agrees with that. Be aware that you put yourself in a dangerous situation. You're lucky that you got caught without injuring anybody. The future, I would give serious thought to not drinking at all, but that's your choice. You're an adult, you're an educated adult. Do you hear what I'm saying to you?
Yes, Judge.
Do not leave this hearing until you've met with Ms. Maricela Luna. She will start you off with a probation office. They're going to wind up reading to you what your conditions are. You will sign them. They will put them in your hands. You have 1 week to come by the office of the County Court at Law Number 5 to have your thumbprint placed on documents as required by law. Is that clear?
Yes, Judge.
Good luck to you. Be proud of yourself and don't demean yourself by this kind of stuff. Mr. Todd, thank you for coming in and helping us. This time, Mr. Todd, you're excused.